Good morning, everyone. Okay, now, I'm coming from a completely different angle than Jason here. When I was about a sophomore in high school, I had my first serious relationship. And after a while of dating, we thought we were in love and everything was great. And slowly, we started to get very physical. And slowly, the pressure started to set into the relationship. And he said, well, girl, if you really love me, if you truly love me, you'd prove it to me. So I needed advice. So I went to my girlfriends and I said, well, he kind of wants to do this with me, and he wants to do that. And they said, well, if you aren't doing this with him, and if you aren't doing that with him, then I mean, well, what's wrong with you? Everybody's doing it. You love him, right? And I thought, well, yeah, I love him. They said, well, then what's the problem? So at the age of 15, I lost my virginity, thinking it was going to cause this huge, great emotional bond between us. We are going to be on cloud nine and so in love. And in all actuality, it eventually destroyed any love in the relationship, and all respect was just thrown out the window. Because if I couldn't even respect my own body, how was he supposed to respect it? And after a while of dating, it seemed like he didn't want to spend time with me anymore. He was basically spending the time with my body. Now, when a girl is being used, she knows it. She knows it in the depths of her heart. She may deny it, she may ignore it, but she knows it, and I knew it. And after a while, we were constantly fighting. He was cheating on me, and we broke up and went our separate ways. Now, I will never forget the day when he walked away from me for the very last time. And as he walked away from me, all I could think about was that guy's taking something with him that never belonged to him in the first place. But I can't get it back, right? What's the point? It's already gone. So there I was in the cafeteria talking with my girlfriends. And I came to this conclusion, okay, if a guy can date me for about 6 months without sleeping with me, then he must love me. Then I'll sleep with him. And I think now 6 months? 6 months is the price that I put on my body? If he gives me just a little bit of that time and just a little bit of that attention, that's the definition of love. And I carried this mentality all through high school. He was the first guy that I slept with, but he wasn't the last, because it starts a vicious cycle. And after a while, I was pretty deep into it. Now, I'm not standing up here pointing my finger at you guys, saying, you guys, you're the problem. No. I happen to believe that you guys will be as much of a gentleman as we ladies require. Now, I wasn't acting like a lady back then, nor dressing like a lady back then. Therefore, they didn't feel the need to rise up and act like a gentleman around me. And what seems to happen sometimes is that girls will give guys sex for the sake of getting the love from them. And guys will give girls the love for the sake of getting the sex from the girls. And it can go both ways. Now, with this lifestyle, I got into the partying, I got into the drinking, I got into the clubbing. You name it, I was into it. And granted, at the time, yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. It was very attractive, and I know what that's like. But I also know what it's like to wake up the next day when that party's over, when those friends are gone, and when I was there by myself. And I remember waking up thinking, I can't believe I did that last night. I hope I don't have to see his face in the hallway at school on Monday. What if he tells everybody what we did last night? What if I'm pregnant? What am I going to tell my mom? What if I have a disease now? What am I going to do? All of these things constantly going through my head. And the night before, my friends would always say to me, oh, it's all fun and games. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. But I can promise you and stand up here today and say, the next morning, the fun and games was over. And I woke up hating myself, and I woke up with nothing but disgust and regret. And I knew deep in my heart, it wasn't worth it. There was a girl that came up to me after one of our talks, and she said, you know, during the talk I was thinking, all the hooking up with guys, all the going to parties, doing this and that. She goes, I realized I was just a prostitute who wasn't getting paid. And it hit her. It hit her hard. Now, after a while of living this lifestyle, my mother had an idea what was going on in my life. Most parents have an idea what's going on in your lives. As much as I thought I was fooling my mother, I was really fooling myself. And she came up to me one day and she said, Kristalina, there's a talk on relationships this weekend, and you're going to it. I said, a sex talk. Are you kidding me? I'm not going to go listen to some dork talk about sex. Thanks, but no thanks. She said, no, you're going. I don't care if you like it or not. And I thought, fine, okay. I'll go to her little talk. I'll sit in the very back of the room for 15 minutes, and I'm out of there. I have a party to go to. I have friends to see. I don't have time. And in that 15 minutes that I sat there, my life was changed. There was a guy who was very honest, blunt, and real. He talked about all of the girls, all of the sex, all the pornography, all of the partying he had been into, and he just laid it out. And I felt like that guy, he had grabbed my hand out of the audience, and he walked through my life. Like he could see the things I was most ashamed of and hiding, and I thought, well, what's the difference? He's done the same exact things I've done, and I just watched him, and he just had this peace, this joy, and this confidence that he carried about himself that I didn't see that in my friends. I didn't see that in the places I went to, and I definitely didn't see that in the guys I was dating, and I wanted it. But he had one quality above all of them that I wanted more than anything. He wasn't ashamed of himself. I sat in my seat trying to figure out one day that I hadn't been ashamed of myself after I'd started living that lifestyle. I couldn't find one. A single day of just true peace and joy, not worried what I'd done prior that night, prior that weekend, prior that month. Never any peace, always worried. And I realized in that moment, I needed to get my standards out of the gutter and raise them as high as I possibly could, and I needed to start respecting my body for once. And I went home that night and I wrote down every single thing that I had done, which was a lot and it was very overwhelming. Then I wrote down everything this guy had said to me, and I put it in an envelope and I hid it in my bedroom because I knew that weekend that temptation was going to be there. And I can promise each and every one of you, those temptations will always be there. But God always promises a way out. And in a sense, that letter was mine. And sure enough, that weekend, there was that party, there were my friends, there were those guys, and I ran to that letter. And it was a very harsh reminder what was there waiting for me, and I didn't do it again. Instead, I wrote another letter, and every single time I was tempted to go back to that lifestyle, I would read my old letters and write a new one. So now I have this huge stack of letters of all of the no's that I've said in my life. Now, Jason here has waited 27 years for his future bride. In 2 weeks, we're getting married. I can't stand up here and say, on those Friday nights, on those weekends I was out partying with my friends, I held myself back for love of him. That I was respecting my body for love of my future husband, because I wasn't, and that's a lie. And I can stand up here and I can look in your eyes, all of your eyes. But every day for the rest of my natural life, I will look into those eyes. And it tears me up that I allowed someone to rob him of the gift that was meant solely for him and no other. Now, Jason knows everything I've done in my past. He knows it all and he accepts it all. But he loves me for the person that I've become, and that's what matters most. But when I turned my life around, a lot of my friends, they didn't get it. They thought it was some big joke. They just constantly made fun of me. They're like, well, what are you, a prude now? What are you too good for us? What's your problem? They just couldn't get it. And they were just constantly making fun of me. And I went home one day and I told someone what was going on. And the best advice they could give me was, oh, don't worry about it. Just ignore it. You're doing the right thing. Well, I tell you today, if anyone makes fun of you for living out a lifestyle of chastity, of purity, of respecting your body, and you get made fun of for that, you remember it. You remember every single word they say to you. Go home, make a book of it, write it all down. Because when you stand in front of your bride or in front of your husband on your wedding day, you tell me, where is the laughter? Where is the mockery? Who is going to be making fun of you then? Nobody. There will be complete silence in that place on that day. And any of those people that made fun of you would pay $1 million to be in your shoes. And when you stand up there, you will say, I will honor you and I will cherish you all the days of my life. Well, today's a day of my life, and today right now is a day of your lives. So keep that in mind and take it to heart, because your lives are going to be so much more than these 4 walls in this high school, and it's going to go way and far beyond that. For those of you in the audience that are virgins, I have the utmost respect for you. And I think that is just awesome. And don't ever be ashamed of that, but be proud of that. Because I know plenty of people who would love to trade places with you, and I am one of them. For those of you in the audience that have made past mistakes, I don't care where you've been, I don't care what you've done, because frankly, I've been there and I've done that. And it is never too late to start over. There was a girl in Philadelphia that came up to me after one of our talks, and it turns out she had slept with 15 guys in the past 3 months. Now, you know the names her school had for her, the label that they called her. That girl, she is a slut, and that's all she's ever gonna be. And I asked her, I said, why are you doing this to yourself? She said, oh, it's fun. You go to parties, you hook up, you know, it's fun. And I said, is it really fun? And for once, someone took this poor girl seriously. She said, look, no, it's not fun. She goes, my parents are going through a divorce right now. The minute I walk into my home, there's nothing but hurt and hate. And just for the moment when those guys hold me, it feels like love. Even though I know it's not, at least I feel like somebody wants me. That girl is not a slut. She's not a this, she's not a that. She has a heart identical to yours and to mine. And ultimately, all that we want is love. So if it's too late for her to start over, then it's too late for me to start over. And frankly, it is never too late for anyone to start over. I don't care who you are, where you've been, what you've done, it doesn't matter. All that matters now is where you go from here. Now, later on in the talk, I'll give you a couple means and ways that you can actually live this lifestyle out. Thank you.
Now, as you could probably imagine how grateful I am that she started waiting for me, and she was afraid if she left those guys who were cheating on her, who were physically abusing her, emotionally abusing her, she was afraid if she left them, she'd miss out on love. But the only way we would have missed out on love is if she stayed with these guys who loved sex more than they loved her, just staying in these relationships, blindly hoping it's going to improve. But she had that respect to step out. And when I met this girl, she was free. She wasn't just available. She was free, confident, independent, pure, mature, and it was just wildly attractive. And I think with girls, girls long for love. Everyone wants love. But I think sometimes a girl may want love so much, she can shoot herself in the foot. And it happens different ways. Like one way is like if a girl goes from relationship to relationship to relationship, and never sit still. My brother and I, when we were kids, we'd play this game called lava, right? You take all the cushions off the couch, and you like throw them on the floor, and you have to jump from cushion to cushion. You jump on a cushion, you jump on the cat, you jump on a cushion. Yeah, you still play? Okay. You can't step between or like you die. And unfortunately, some girls date like that, where they go from boy to boy to boy to boy to boy. By the time the girl gets to college, she has no clue who she is because she's defined her whole identity by the boy she's been clinging to for emotional security. Maybe she confuses their physical affection with love. Maybe she's looking for love her dad never gave her. But either way, a girl needs to find her independence as a woman. Then she can receive and give the kind of love that she's been longing for. But the number one way, from a guy's perspective, that girls ruin their chances of getting real intimacy is if a girl thinks that dressing modestly is a joke. I'll admit, I'm a guy. I don't know the pressure you girls are under to look and eat and dress a certain way. I mean, we were watching TV a while back, and a Barbie doll commercial came on. So I was like, dude, I have to get that Barbie. So I went to the store and got the Barbie. Shut up. Yeah, I've got issues. No, this is, I don't remember her name. It was like Botox, collagen, silicone Barbie or something. But, girls are told from the ages of like 3 and up, behold womanhood. You too can be a woman, okay? Just eat 3 croutons a day, all right? You dress like a collection of body parts, and girl, you're going to find love. And so what does every beer commercial, every billboard basically tell women about their bodies? It basically tells girls like, you're too fat. You're too skinny. You're too fat and too skinny. You're a real piece of work. Just constantly, girls are told your body is trash. Hate your body. 5 minutes later, they tell you worship your body. And during that confusion and a girl's sincere desire to find love and be found beautiful, she may look at Cosmo and 17 magazine and thinks, well, that's a cute outfit. Maybe if I dress like that, I'll meet a nice guy, and maybe we'll find love. Well, it sounds like it makes sense, but what happens is this. If we guys are very visual when it comes to sexuality. And if we see a girl walking down the street dressed like this, let's say she's got one of those new short skirts they have that you can mistake for a wide belt, you know what I'm talking about? they're like belly buttons sticking out and their tops made of like saran wrap or whatever this is, and spaghetti straps. And we see her walking down the street. We think that she's trying to tell us, like, hey boys, the greatest thing about me is my body. And we'll look at her and we'll be like, I agree, that's a nice body. But if her sexual value is the first thing that draws me to a woman, I might think that that's the best thing she has to offer. Forget her friends and her dreams and her family. I want to get to know the body. And a guy might say or do whatever necessary to get access to her body. And if she gives him access thinking, oh, maybe he'll like me more, usually what happens is the guy loses respect because he gets bored. He moves on, and she's left there thinking, well, maybe if I'd been skinnier, he would have liked me more. Maybe if I'd done more with him sexually, he would have stayed longer. He might not have stayed longer, but he would have used her longer, but her heart's made for a better kind of love than that. And guys get used too. We all know the pressures go both ways. But with modesty, I'm not saying like girls, I want you to look as ugly as physically possible. I don't want you girls like show up at your prom like with this, this huge dress on, and your boyfriend sees you. He's like, modesty, wow, girl, you're looking good there in your shapeless plaid ankle-length jumper, hey, that's a nice potato sack, stay home. I mean, modesty does not mean a girl tries to look ugly. It doesn't dampen down your allure. Modesty means a girl takes the beauty of womanhood and uses it to teach men about her dignity. Because I tell you, I never knew how to treat a girl till I dated one in college who dressed modestly, and it was captivating. Because you could take her seriously as a woman because she wasn't trying to constantly make boys gawk at her body so she'd feel secure. And she had a good figure. She could have dressed like, hey boys, check it out. But the way she dressed said like, hey boys, frankly, I'm worth waiting to see. And under that humility was something radiant you could not get bored with because that girl had that deeper reverence for herself. By the way a girl dresses, by the way a girl dances, you can tell if she wants you to treat her like a gentleman or not. And as Kristen said, a guy will be as much of a gentleman as a woman requires. And I'll grant you girls, you have the power to turn a guy's head, but you also have the power to turn a guy's heart. Girls, if you want a guy to think you're special, that you're intelligent, that you're worth respecting, showing us your belly button won't help, as we guys are so visual. And I'll grant you girls, it's so hard as a guy to be pure nowadays with our thoughts. We need your help. Guys don't like to ask for help. You ever drive with a guy who's like lost? I mean, he'll drive to South America before he finds the convenience store because it's a pride thing. Likewise with purity, but we have to back down. We just say, girls, we need your help on this. It is so hard for us to stay pure. The girls have power in this to shape the way that the whole world looks at women, so tap into that. Now, I mean, I'll put Barbie away for now. Whoa, sorry, she's okay, she's still smiling. But girls say, well, Jason, if I can't